Here.
Councilman Casella?
Here.
Supervisor Thurston?
Here, everyone, for allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty for all. You stand, and please remain standing. I home a prayer from a bishop with respect to Ukraine, and let's maybe just bow our heads briefly. It won't take too long. We pray to you, Almighty, for the Ukrainian people who are experiencing war and death. Bless all leaders of the world with wisdom and to break down the walls of hostility. Amen. Please be seated. Okay, do we have a motion to adopt the agenda as it is
I'll move it.
presented?
Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Motion passed. Next item, now February the 28th, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor? Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, the motion passed. The next item is a motion for the public hearing with respect to Wappinger Water District. Do we have a motion to open the public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, the Mr. Hand would like three of for us.
What is before the town board this evening is there is an order to extend the United Wappinger Water District to serve parcel this is to include it within the water district. Originally, COSM had requested a tenancy agreement just for service for fire suppression for fire suppression systems, but after some discussions, everybody agreed that it would be in their best interest to include them in the water district themselves. The connection would be made down the driveway to Wheeler Hill Road. There would be hydrants along the access road as well. I'm sorry, Mike. And then the benefit assessments. So, if there was any question, it's based on institutional parcel. There's maps and engineering report prepared by Joe Berger Engineering, which has been reviewed, and I believe in a position that the town board should have determined that it's in the public interest to extend the water district to this parcel. They can vote after the public hearing is closed to adopt the order, which it's with the Dutchess County Clerk's set to audit and control and all.
Thank you very much.
Is there a for that they can have there, or is there no limit to what they can put on their property?
Yeah, I mean, and then, so every year the assessor, recalculates the benefit assessment rolls based on the, so, the benefit assessment, there's no cap per se, but, as buildings would be added or buildings would be
That's what I'm
removed.
thinking about. If something else is added, is there we need to be aware?
Every year, the benefit assessment roll is calculated by the assessor. Building permits are issued and a new structure is raised on the property, then the assessor makes a calculation to change the benefit assessment.
And that would then go through the planning board process. And Mr. James is here, Brian James is here if you have any questions. But
Okay.
that.
Just a question, is install sprinklers in the main house or is it on the property?
So there is a new construction that has a sprinkler system. We are wanting to
Okay.
Maybe, come on up here. Yeah, so the public listening.
Sorry about that, Brian. The microphone didn't pick you up.
Currently, we just have a sprinkler system that was approved and installed for the new building, and that's what
And
we're
that's the
looking.
museum building.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we're looking to connect to that. And then we have 5 existing buildings on the property, one of which has a, actually, we'd like to redesign the entire water system because it's probably 30, 40 years old, the stuff we have in the ground, and at that point, we would look to connect to the main for the rest of the buildings.
So, I mean, for me, this comes down to one thing, public safety, respect, COSM, Chapel of the Sacred Mirrors, wanting to extend this water line onto their property for the purposes of sprinklers, for the purposes of fire hydrants, for the purposes of improving safety on the property. I've respected the property times. It's an older property, obviously, retreat house, the whole nine. Having water on that site is going to be beneficial to any resident or any visitor. And
Well, even off it, because there's extensive wooded land that,
there, in case there's an external fire too. But I think that in this case, it's clear that safety will be improved by having water access to this property.
and, Barbara, our fire inspector has, and our inspectors have reviewed the current building. Okay, thanks. Okay, I'll ask, anybody here in the public that would like to come up and comment or raise a question, and then if the board has anything else as well. Okay, don't see any.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing on COSM.
Second.
Okay, motion second, all in favor? Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, the motion, send back for the resolution later on.
You want to just do that now? I mean,
Yeah, we
so
can
you
do that
leave?
now, so Brian
So you
doesn't
can-
have to
Brian
stay
can leave.
around. I'm happy, to do that. That's,
61?
Yeah, 61, Resolution 2022-61, in order making certain determinations in relation to approval of extension of Sacred Mirrors to United Town of Wappinger, Dutchess County, New York, pursuant to Article 12.
Move this resolution to grant this extension.
I'll second it.
Okay, a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, motion passed. Thank you, Brian, and thanks to the Grays also
Thank
for
you.
working with the town very closely on this. Appreciate it. Okay, with the public hearing behind us now, we need a motion to open the public portion of the meeting to discuss any questions, comments on agenda items.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, motion, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, the motion passed to open the public portion. Does anybody have any comments to the item on the agenda? Okay. Good evening.
Marcy Wagman. So I'm just going to comment on the zoning revisions and resolutions. You know that I've kind of taken you to task in the past, but I really appreciate the kind of work that you've done on this one in breaking it all out, having really robust discussions. And I think, and Malcolm, your work, and Barbara, I think it really has led to a much more robust product. And I'm not going to give you an A+, but it's much improved. So thank you.
Thank you, Marcy.
Just an A
Appreciate it.
for today.
Thank you.
C is passing.
Any other comments? Okay,
Make a motion to close the public portion.
Second.
okay, there's a motion and second, close the public portion. All in favor? Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, the motion. I'd like to invite Kevin Hawthorne up, and Kevin's going to give us a report on veterans activities and certainly some upcoming events that
Thanks, sir.
we have that he's been working hard on.
Hey, Mike, we're getting some reports that there's intermittent audio on TV.
Thank you.
Might be on the cable side.
Mike?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hopefully, everything is in order so that what I'm going to be reading from is the same thing you're going to be looking at. The first page is upcoming events for the spring. Recognizing Vietnam War veterans on March 29th. The thing that's most important to the area, seeing as how we have so many Vietnam War veterans and families. There are probably about 7 or 8 pages of information relating to what's handouts like lapel pins and things like that. There are spouses named after, like if Daniel would be a spouse there. There are lapel pins for the spouses. There's a commemoration, like about the 4th page in. It's Join the Nation, Thank a Vietnam Veteran. And it's got to do with the United States of America Vietnam War commemoration. And they talk about what's behind the Vietnam commemoration and recognition. I'm not going to go through all of those pages, but you'll see that there are an awful lot of documents, as well as the lapel pins. There's also a Vietnam War flag. Now, all of those things are available at no charge once I've joined, and since I've joined the commemoration group. And I applied for all of the stuff. Lead on that stuff, which brings us into about April 3rd. So they're being pessimistic there. We have quite a program thought about. We have to solidify, to speak. I know for a fact that Senator Serino is going to be in Albany working on the budget, so she will have one of her assistants, Adam Roche, try and speak with Kieran Lawler, although he might also be in Albany for the budget. But I'm sure that Kira would be available to speak. We are also trying the Vietnam War flag. Kieran's office, seeing as he is a wartime veteran. The second thing is the Joseph Fenister Veterans.
And we'll also presentation
Yes.
that day too.
Yes. There will be a wreath to be laid, so it's going to be a pretty elaborate ceremony. I had anticipated closer to an hour, and it will hopefully, because I'm advertising it in the Hornet, hopefully it'll reach most of the people in the surrounding towns as well. And I'm trying to have this.
And it's been in there once. Last week or
Good,
2 weeks.
good. All right, moving on to the 5K. That's the Joseph Fenister Veterans 5K. Joe Cavassini put out a blurb, and in that blurb, he also explained who Joseph Fenister is, because there are many people new who aren't really sure what his function has been, but he was very large in the recreation field, and we feted him years ago. As a matter of fact, I think it was December 31st, and he passed soon after that. David Hargett, he jumped in last year as the MC, and he's a force to be reckoned with if he shows up. He plans. He doesn't need any preparation. He doesn't need any introduction. He will keep things going. Hopefully he will show up. Now, planning shirt as well as this bag. And we're making arrangements for all of the logos to be on the T-shirt and the bag as well. Now, the shirt So actually suggested white, but that really didn't fly because nobody wants to wear a white shirt that might be easily. Moving on to Flag Day, June 14th. With a DAV program, so I didn't get the chance to celebrate that. But I have plans on doing that, and I have the approval of the fire department, although not an awful lot of instruction, so I have to see zoning people have to say about what I can do. I'd rather a fire, a physical thing, but I think that's what we're going to wind up doing. And not being able to dig anything. We may get something dug. I don't know.
Well, I suggest, Kevin, that when, we're not talking tonight, but we'll be discussing some more about, how to kind of landscape, take care of some of the flooding issues and planning and so forth in so the carnival providers also want pads, but I suggest that at that time, that permanent, call it, that can then fit in with landscape, then either, I know I have, if somebody helps me lift it into the truck, and that can be used and taken, and the house also has a fire that need everything. So, but that's what I suggest to the members of the board, that when we look at more plans for Schlott House, that we consider that in along with anything else. But this time we can do temporary, but it's more than able bodies, to come and pick it up, even can take it over.
All right, I plan on involving the DAV folks, the veterans, as the American Legion post, as we, so that it will be a ceremony for Flag Day, as it should be.
I notice being turned in, which is a good sign. There's a lot of people that are paying attention to the program.
And I'm still getting them up to the Resource Recovery Agency. And by the way, with that, one of the up there, he said that he would make sure that it's the bags of flags that I give him would not just be dumped in; they would be put into the incinerator, so that they would be
proper respect. So I think for all of our that are program tonight or will watch your flags, that have been we have a receptacle that I think Kevin actually built, outside of the front entrance of Town Hall. So please bring them by, and we pick them up and store them until that day. So, and we'll have more news, on what's going to happen that day. It was the first year, wasn't it, that we did?
Pardon me?
No.
Yes, last year was the first one. It was on July 4th.
Yeah.
That was the closest.
So this year we'll do it on
15th. Moving to the back pages of that question that was asked of me, still sponsors. The very last page of the hand, what the different levels of donorship are, sponsorship, I should say, such as silver sponsor. Having an 18-inch by 30-inch sign, double-sided, at this point, it would be good advertising. Mercedes is one of the ones that did that. The prior page to that, page prior to that, is a description of the 5K, and it's what has been published. Going back to the front page again, I write a monthly column in the Hornet. The first article published last month illustrated our Hometown Heroes program indoors. I would also like to add a column like that to the Southern Dutchess News. This month's article highlights the National Vietnam War Veterans Day on the 29th.
And this is the, 49th anniversary of, somewhere around that?
Actually, I think it is the 50th because
50th, okay.
Probably the occasion, the commemoration, it'll go for another 3 or 4 years. April's article sent in late March explained the walk run on the April 16th. Now, the town is advertised weekly during my service officer duties at Castle Point, where I help veterans file claims for their disabilities. And as well as the Wappinger's Veterans Advisory donates food to the Veterans Food Pantry at Castle Point. I'd like to note that there are a lot of people, there are many, many corporations who donate for that, and that is strictly for veterans and their families. When I asked one of the workers there, what should I donate from the Wappinger's Veterans Advisory, he says, well, we get everything else, but we don't get chips, we don't get chocolate chip cookies, we don't get Famous Amos. So I spend about $240 every month, every 5 weeks, to keep people really happy. They eat well, but they also eat fun.
Like their snacks, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's important. We're constantly looking out for veterans and veterans' families. 9 times. The town website is a good place to refer to in order to speak with a member of the WVA. And as usual, suggestions are welcome.
Again, for the benefit of the audience that might want new, the banner's going to be going back up. What's your plan? Tentative plan.
The tentative plan is the first week of April.
Okay.
We have to see how things come together. I'm planning on putting banners on Old Hopewell. I think the county is planning on working on Old Hopewell during that time, so we have to get a truck. Mike was going to try cable, but I don't think they'd loan out their equipment. So we can pennies on the dollar. That's not that. But it's the first week or 2 of April where we plan on the banners and approximately where they were before, but there are some which will go in places. People who own most of Spook Hill Road. I misunderstood the requester. She said she would like her father's banner put up close to Spook Hill and Myers. Well, I put it down by Ardmore by mistake. So we're going to be moving that one.
And you are still taking orders for the banners for anybody
Indeed.
that would like to submit an order, to Kevin. I think we have order forms out on the
Right.
table by the entrance, right?
We have them there, and we also have them on the town website. Joey wrote something up, and it's a perfectly suitable way to order the flags, the banners.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any questions for Kevin?
Keep up the good work.
No.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Okay.
Kevin.
I will be talking to each of you very, very shortly outside the business area about advertising. Some of you have the ability to advertise, and I don't want to mix it in with business right now, but it's something I'll be contacting.
Okay.
You still have meetings on a weekly basis
No,
or
ma'am.
monthly basis? How often are the meetings of the
We-
committee?
We're still forming. We're
So there's
still-
no meetings?
No, ma'am,
Okay.
no,
So when they are formulated, you'll let the board know when they are?
definitely will,
Thank you.
definitely.
Yeah, one of the things that I think we really need to talk to our constituents is to get some volunteers, that kind of dropped off, some of the people that moved out of town and other reasons, and Kevin's and a couple others have been carrying the load, but we do welcome volunteers, and you don't have to be a veteran or even a member of the military to volunteer.
Exactly.
Kevin will accept any able-bodied individual, to help out, and there's a lot of good stuff to be done.
Do you have enough volunteers for the April 16th 5K walk? Or you need people?
We have quite a few,
Sure. Okay.
but anybody's welcome to, if you're not going to run or walk.
And you can go down to the turnaround point like you did before.
I was before. That was a great spot for me 2 years ago.
All right.
This way. This way.
That was a great event last time.
But I have a lot of guys from the DAV. A lot of the veterans are willing to help out.
But
So-
clearly, there are opportunities
Right.
to do that. You have professional timer, right? That's professional starter for the race and
Oh,
timer.
yeah, oh, right.
Right,
It's
so
somebody,
this is, well
right,
run and
it's somebody
organized.
from, a little bit of background. She's from Cold Spring, and she is a professional race operator. She will supply the bibs for the runners, which have chips in them, which are good for timing. They set up all the electronics at the starting point, and as soon as somebody crosses the line, their chip starts counting the time. We are planning on, and everybody, whether you run or walk, can be timed, or if not,
Is
not if you
Take
don't
my
want
chip
to.
out.
Is Mike taping it this year? Mike Minor.
Oh, I haven't talked to him.
He's back
I haven't
there.
talked to him, yes.
Talk to him.
All right, we
So-
got to talk to Mike.
The only thing I would say from the last one is once they come past the finish line, just make sure that they stay clear of the reader, because remember, the bibs were all reading.
Yeah.
Because what happened, we were all standing around the finish line, and then when the people passed and they came back to see their
Right.
family members, it can mess
Get
up their
Or
time.
to take pictures.
Yeah, we're going to
Or they
be-
take their bib off and leave it down
Well, we're
range a
going to be
little bit.
moving people back past the
Further,
tables,
okay.
Yeah, okay.
so that there are no congregations at the finish line.
And then I would say, David, if you have to call him multiple times to encourage him to be there, that guy was a great crowd motivator.
I'm going to see
David
him this
Hargett.
Saturday.
Yes.
Yeah, I
And,
mean,
He's
that,
very
that,
Yes.
that, he
motivated.
made that event, and
Exactly.
having him there makes a huge difference.
Well, at our last EAV meeting, there were 25 of us there, and 24 of us made sure that David understood what his job was going to be on April 16th.
Yeah,
And we're going to do the same thing this
that
Saturday.
makes a big difference.
So we will definitely have David there.
Very good, thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Kevin.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Kevin.
Thank you very much.
I was there for the yellow vest. That's what I was there for.
Thanks, Al.
Yeah.
Yep. The next item is Steve?
Supervisor had asked me to look into resolving an issue we've been having here at Town Hall.
Predates me.
Yeah,
this
like,
board.
actually, yeah, it does, it goes back quite a while. We have had frequent fire alarms here due to cooking in the break room. What I did was come
And
up-
there's no hood or
Right,
anything in the
there's
break room
no
is the problem.
ventilation in there. And what I did was contact a restaurant-style hood company to come in and look at it, because there's a table there with a number of cooking appliances. The general homeowner type hood would just not do the job. So there's only one company that is local in Poughkeepsie. The next closest, they're up in Albany and down in New Jersey. I got a quote from Imperial Fire and Safety out of Poughkeepsie. He came in and looked at it. The cost would be $26,815 for a 5-foot by, I think, about 4-foot hood over top of the cooking area. It would require me to move the current stove out to the same spot where the remainder of the cooking appliances are. And I figure we can do that for about $1,000 in materials in-house. And that should resolve the problem of the fire alarms.
Well,
Right
that's-
now, you have it disconnected,
Like
correct?
Right, yeah, I've disconnected the stove in the meantime because of the frequency of the false
But we
alarms.
still have the microwave, right?
Right.
Which I'm concerned about.
Well, it's $26,000.
It is.
To put a hood up in the kitchen. It's not even a kitchen. It's a breakout room, correct?
It's a break room, I guess, I don't know.
Right, it's a break room.
Take a look at that.
I think we need to discuss this further.
Sure.
What's the status of the door that's supposed to close when the fire alarms activate?
There is an inspection scheduled on that.
Because I don't think it's worked once.
That could be a problem.
Well, if you
Really?
remember the discussions that went on for hours and hours.
I had him in here about a year ago. You know, it's due for its annual inspection. And I had him in here for about a year ago, and at that particular day, it was functioning the way it was supposed to function.
The last 2 automatic fire alarms that I've been to here, it hasn't functioned, and that was the stipulation to get the CO after 30 years or 40 years of no CO. That was a huge, it went on for years, the discussions. And now when I come here with the fire department and it's not working, it defeats the entire purpose of all that discussion. So when they come here for the inspection and you
Well,
test the
the
alarm,
inspector is also a technician, so any issues will be repaired.
we got to make sure though that when the fire alarm goes off, it activates the door. I understand he can activate the door, and okay, it works, but we need to make sure that the fire alarm system is communicating with the door so that it automatically closes. That's the issue. It's supposed to automatically close upon.
Yeah, and again, when he was here last, we did do a test
Okay.
with the alarm system,
All right.
and it worked. It seems to be a fairly complicated system, and I don't know.
Well, nothing's simple.
I'll bring it to his
Here in the
attention.
town hall.
I'll bring it to his attention that it has failed again in the past.
Yeah, I mean, I would just have him do the inspection and then see if it functions. If it functions, we're fine.
Right.
It's just the whole point of that is, it's debatable on if it's really gonna do what it's supposed to do, but
Right.
just pure principle, I remember sitting
Agreed.
and having those long discussions about it. Jim, you may recall.
We've probably had 20 times, 30 times the discussions than there was held when they were designing the building.
Well, yeah, I don't think there were many discussions.
Steve, while you're up there,
Yeah.
one of, the major concerns that I've raised, right, and I know you're looking into it, but I'd just like to update is with respect to, windows that can pop out and escape from, because we have a few rooms here that don't have any way out if
Right.
there's a fire in the hallway.
I met with the engineering firm last week, and we discussed the project list, and I pointed out to them that that was a high priority, and they're going to do some further.
Well, can you, put a really high
Yeah,
priority?
no,
I'll
I
talk
will.
with Tim.
We'll contact
yeah,
them
on
and let
that.
them know you asked again. so.
Yeah, because I, am concerned about that.
Yeah, it's something that they're handling, and I will,
Okay.
put a little
I mean, to
inspiration
me,
into
to
it.
me, the cost of getting some new escapable
Right,
windows is far more important than a stove or
Right.
a
Is that,
hood.
is that throughout the building, or is that just
Yeah,
specific
throughout
to?
if you go, I mean, some areas have extra ways to get out into hallways and so
Okay.
forth. And this is short of driving a car through the tax assessor's room, but.
That's how, drive-through.
But there, for example, I think Barbara's area, is a top, priority. Frederick's area is another one, right? And let's see, Jessica has plenty of exit space. I think the clerk has, several different ways to get out. So it's largely in Barbara and Frederick's areas that we have the top priority and need something to.
and I think the assessor's office.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. Yeah, the assessor's office does, you have to kick out the windows or, as I said facetiously,
Right.
drive a car through them.
Yeah,
But
I
no,
mean,
you're right.
It's not just fires. I mean,
Yeah.
We live in uncertain times,
Yeah.
and God forbid there's an active threat in the building,
Right.
and people need to evacuate an alternate route. We need to explore that. We need to make sure
Yeah.
options exist, unfortunately. And since we're having the conversation right now on the record, I think it's good that you brought this up. The likelihood of a fire occurring in the hallway is very minimal, and statistically, the likelihood of an active threat is also minimal, but I think it's good that we're looking proactively on
Absolutely.
giving individuals an opportunity, a secondary egress opportunity.
Any idea when they might have an estimate put together for that?
I don't have an idea.
Oh, well.
No, I know you
just
don't have
met
it now,
Fri-
but-
I think it was Thursday we got together,
Okay.
and
So maybe in a month or so you'll have an estimate, maybe,
But
hopefully.
let's, tell them, and I'll
again,
tell
I'll
them,
give
it
them another
has to
call
be a
and-
priority.
And mention that it was, brought up here at the meeting again.
Okay. Very good,
Thanks,
thank you.
Steve.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
We had on here, I think it's really redundant, zoning revisions and refunds. That was a placeholder from original. We have that addressed in the resolution, so I don't think we need to address that item at this point in time.
Okay.
So let's move on to our resolution section. First resolution is 2021-93. This is a resolution adopting the charter for the Town of Wappinger Community Affairs Advisory Committee that's designed to replace the old Recreation Committee. So does anybody have any edits? This is one that we've had around since
Yeah.
last fall.
So, I know it's been tabled twice. My thought on
Three
this.
times, actually. Here, I have that.
My thought on this was, when is our next workshop meeting?
Who knows? Either the next meeting of the board or in April, depending on what might be of priority.
Would the board be interested in doing a workshop meeting on a Saturday morning again
All right,
for a couple
I'm
hours?
willing to do it.
you know, like a.
I think you almost have to make some of these separate, because we've got a lot of
Because
discussion
we got a
points
lot of
coming up in
business.
the next couple.
That's what I'm saying, we got a lot of business coming up in the next 2 meetings, so my thought is, if we do a hard stop, you know, like 10 to noon or something like that on a Saturday morning, we've done this before, where we
Yep.
have a hard stop
Right.
because we have families, right? You know, I'll be divorced if I'm here another day. But the point is, if we have these types of things where we can discuss the different aspects of them and understand some of the genesis of some of these portions, right? I think it would be helpful. I don't disagree with the intent of creating this entity. I just have some questions about the number of members, you know, the authority that they would have and responsibilities they would have and where they would fit into the organizational chart. And I know that other members may have some questions about that too. And my question would be, can we push this to a workshop meeting and then have that discussion as well?
That sounds good.
Can we do it, are you guys available like the first Saturday in April? Because we've got, our next meeting's on the 28th of March, unless you want to try to squeeze something between now and then.
I think that's kind of tough.
That's
No, I
kind of
think,
kind of tough.
I think after the next regular meeting, right, and before the first one in April. So I think
Right.
that puts it on April 2nd, right?
Correct. Well, we're at 9th, I guess, right?
But don't we have Little League opening day?
Oh, yeah, Little League,
That's
that's
the
right.
9th.
Yeah, egg hunts that day too, so yeah, second
Yeah,
would
so the
probably be.
9th is where we get into the Little League and the egg hunt, right?
Right.
The 16th is the race.
Race, yeah.
So it's also Easter weekend, and this would be probably the best time to do it. If we do a Saturday morning, 10 a.m. to noon time, is that appropriate?
For the second?
For the
Correct.
second?
I'm okay,
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Just want to make sure the
Fine.
board's okay with it.
yeah,
Yeah, that works.
So
That's
let me
okay.
just do this. I'll make a motion that we set Saturday, April 2nd, 10 a.m. for a special workshop meeting of the town board to discuss outstanding business and proposed resolutions.
I'll second that.
Okay, there's motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, any
we just
nays
get-
or abstentions? Okay,
We
pass.
just got to make sure we don't stack this agenda, because we got to have time. Like this, you know, we need 30 minutes to sit here
Right,
and discuss
right.
this. So we really don't want to put more than
I'll
4
do it
items, I
tonight.
think, on this
Okay.
agenda.
Well,
Right,
last
I mean-
time we did the workshop session, we were able to finish 4 items within 2
Yeah,
hours, which is
right.
what we want to stick to. But again,
See-
we should cap it
I
at
stuck to
2
strict
hours.
time limits,
Yeah.
right? and
Right,
we have
right,
to do
because we
that.
got, there's, you know, we do have families and it's a weekend day, so 10 to 12, right here. I'd like to sit around the tables.
Right.
Roll our sleeves up, get some things done. And if we can approve things that day, Jim, can we approve something at that meeting? Yeah, so we can approve things. We're not just going to push it to the next town board meeting. We'll get
Right.
things done. Because sometimes it's tough to do things like this when we're at 30,000 feet on other things.
Well, and I think it's important, you know, one of the reasons for doing this is that we need to have, you know, some more volunteers. And we have some
Yeah.
big events coming up, and the Recreation Committee used to fill part of that void.
I agree.
We don't have that, so that was part of the design here, plus to take some of the burden off of some of our staff that's carrying an awful lot. So, okay.
So then I'll move to, well, I don't need to do anything, it's still tabled. But what I will do is, I'll say this. I make a motion that we discuss this proposed resolution on the Community Affairs Advisory Council Charter at the workshop meeting on April 2nd.
Second.
Okay, moved and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, the motion passed. Okay, thank you.
Just one comment for the board regarding, you know, as this is similar to Recreation Committee, one of the things that the enabling legislation for a Recreation Commission permits is minors to serve on the board, 1 or 2. I don't know if the board, that's the only board that someone who can't be, someone who's not eligible to vote can serve on.
Oh, okay. Didn't know
So that's just one of the things that, you know, I just wanted to throw it out there because it's a little bit arcane. So if you want to have you know, it's not a junior member.
Right.
The person has all voting rights as any other member on the board, but it does not have to be a voting age person.
Okay, that's good to know. And I'll just say to the board, I mean, I'm not wedded to anything in here. This is a straw man, you know, and to
Oh,
look
yeah,
at as far as numbers, who, what, when, where, right? Just to get some discussion. So that's why I hope that on the Saturday, the 2nd, we can have, you know, constructive and finalizing discussion.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Bill. The next item is Resolution 2022-55. This is the zoning resolutions that we've talked about on a number of occasions. I'll read it officially. The record is resolution introducing local law which would amend Chapter 240 zoning, Chapter 210 solid waste, littering, and storage of garbage, and Chapter 217 subdivision of land of the town code with respect to a variety of matters. Since Malcolm's here, why don't you just again summarize for the town audience and the benefit of the board what we came up with after the last meeting?
So as you will all remember, we discussed at length the zoning amendments that we had proposed. Following the last discussion, we made some changes to the code that you had looked at. Most notably, I mean, they were all minor for the most part. We modified the window for trash collection, 24 hours before the day of collection and 24 hours afterwards. We slightly increased the permitted size of solid waste refuse containers. We had discussed changes to the fencing provisions. Ultimately, they became very complicated, and we decided to keep them as proposed with provisions in there for the zoning administrator to have certain leeways about, really the issue is that some people have a property line 12 feet into the road, some people have property line away from the road, some people have property lines right at the pavement, and it made the scripting of that law and how far back you need to have your fence a little more complicated than that subject need be. And for those instances, the zoning administrator would have leeway. Are there any other questions?
No, you covered all the bases, Malcolm. I appreciate you going above and beyond to accommodate our input, which was kind of a little bit after the fact when we received it. Not your fault, not Barbara's fault, but I think we've reached consensus here, in my opinion. From my perspective, I don't have any issues with what's in these proposals at this point.
And the fact that one of our residents actually in the audience came up and said it was clarified, it's understandable. They were very happy that, it took the time to go through the code, so it was, again, understandable, and I don't think there's any issues. Otherwise, I'm sure the young lady in the audience would have, made some discussion points. And she didn't. She actually gave us an A+, or maybe not an A+.
No.
But an A. But
Don't put words into Marcy's mouth.
I will say
it certainly wasn't a C, as Bill was talking about.
I will say I did run to the end of my driveway and get my garbage cans back in before I vote on this tonight to make sure.
You want to make sure? Yeah.
We took pictures of Bill's house just to make sure they're clean tonight.
Bill, it was 24 before and after, right?
It was 24 after the day, according to the law here, so.
No, but thank you, Malcolm, for all
Yes.
the good work here and clarifying a lot of the information here, and not making some of the changes we suggest, but also making changes we suggested that make it, more easily to be understood in case there's ever an issue that should take place. So thank you for that.
Wonderful. While I'm here, I just wanted to mention, moving forward, we're always finding opportunities to modify, to modernize, and improve the code. Moving forward, I'll look for a workshop session to bring those proposed changes. I'll make sure that I'm here and we can go over them at length and hopefully get another passing grade with the next provision.
So far,
But without going through 9 meetings to
That
get
would be
there.
ideal, yeah.
you're at a 3.5 GPA right now. We'll see where it's going.
But thank you.
Once we vote on this, I just have one thing I'd like to mention to him.
Okay.
Whenever you call the
All
vote.
right.
Or I'll move that we adopt.
Yeah, move that we adopt. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, a motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays or
Is the
abstentions?
public hearing scheduled in the,
Yeah, we need to introduce.
Oh, well, that's right. This
Oh,
was,
it's a law.
Schedule a public
yeah,
hearing
but
and-
we're getting overly enthusiastic. Did you put the date in there, Jim, for the public hearing?
just, I'm trying to pull it.
No.
I didn't see it. Yeah, it's item number 3, but there's no date in there.
Yep, so, I don't know if you want to, so I would schedule it for the first regular meeting in April.
So that's then the 11th of April?
All right, so strike
Yeah.
my last motion. I'll move to introduce local law number, whatever is assigned, Cooper, I don't know what number we're on, and set the public hearing for Monday, April 11th.
11th, right.
I'll second it.
Okay, there's a motion and second to set the public hearing for April the 11th of 2022. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, the motion passes. Bill, you had a comment?
Yeah, so, with respect to signs, I know this is an ongoing, discussion. You know, I see a sign coming up for Mid-Hudson Subaru. I see, you know, just always reminds me that we need to make sure we're, continuously, looking at our sign laws to make sure that we're appropriate setbacks and things like that. I mean, it does get a little difficult to see some of these businesses when their signs are so far off Route 9. And I know we've had this conversation before. One example is the former Fun Central, what is it called now? DC Sports. So if you're going north on 9 to pull in there, you pass it before you see the sign. This happened to me a couple weeks ago, rather than going in off Nacogsack Road. So if you're going north on Route 9, right, you see it, you're past it already, and the sign sets way back because the miniature golf sticks out, right? That's one example. You know, Chase Bank obviously has always been a pet peeve for me because it sits so far back, but again, you can see that one. But if we could just revisit our sign laws and make sure that we're, appropriately establishing that. Obviously, there's new technology out there. We got to look at LED versus incandescent, whatever the brightnesses should be as new things are coming in. And then we'll have to also have a conversation about the controlled fire aspect of the code and make sure that we are consistent with everything. There is a burn ban in effect right now by the DEC, so that handles things right now. But, moving forward, we should have that conversation at some point before the fall, and maybe we can get something done there too.
Yeah, the signs definitely need to be looked at, because going down even south on Route 9, you can't read some of the names of the businesses, and you have people slowing down. And it's, the speed limit's up to, I believe, 45 there, and you have somebody going slow because they can't read the signage. That really needs to be looked at, and there's something we need to do to fix it.
So I do want to bring up, we did change the sign code a few years ago. Instead of 25 feet back from their property line, which would take it almost to the business on some of the small ones, it's 25 feet from pavement. The DOT owns a lot of property. So in a lot of cases, it can't be any closer because it would be on state property. The sign, it's unfortunate, but if you take Heritage, for instance, all the flowers, they actually have like a lease from the DOT because the
Right.
DOT has such a wide berth over there to even get that. So keep in mind that sometimes it's on their property at the property line. I
Right.
don't know how we could make it better
Yeah.
in some cases unless they got leases from the DOT to allow it to be in there right away.
Yeah, and it's not,
But
go
you
ahead.
understand what I'm saying with
Oh,
the size
absolutely.
of the lettering on some of these signs, you just can't read it. There's 15, I'm exaggerating, there's
No,
10
that's a
things
lot.
that are in there, and you can't see them.
Right.
And in order to
Well,
see them,
that's-
you need to
we don't
stop.
have- We don't have a minimum letter height on our sign.
No, but we have a max of 10 feet high. So when you have a strip mall or, say, Executive Park that has multiple businesses, they can't make it any bigger with what the
Right.
size of the sign is. And that's unfortunate that they have to really go by either the address or they'll need a variance, some of those signs.
but I-
Maybe we need to change something, because it's
Right.
becoming a safety thing.
Sure, so we can
It
look at
really
that.
is.
Bigger could be better.
One of the issues I brought up was Tractor Supply, and it was pointed out to me that's the exact sign that they spec'd.
Yes.
Right.
That is way too small for that. I see people
Yeah.
slamming on their brakes all the time.
Exactly,
to
yeah.
just try to
And
pull
I've
it.
talked with the manager, and he says that it's corporate, that
I sent
they
an
insist
email
on
to
that.
Barbara, how is the sign so, it's, first of all, it's low
I
grade,
said they
right?
picked it.
And it's way down there, and Barbara sent me the exact specs of the sign. It's the exact sign that they spec'd and gave to the planning board.
Yep.
So, and it's not, we haven't restricted it. They chose that size sign. One thing I was gonna remember, I had a little bit of I forgot what I was gonna say before. The street numbering for commercial businesses, we need to take a look at, because not all of these businesses are in compliance with this commercial street numbering as per the county law, which I think, I'm not sure how many inches it is, but, you know, there are businesses out there right now that don't have any numbers on them, and that should be resolved. You know, from a code enforcement perspective, we need to, we need to do that.
So we'll have the inspectors take a ride, in small spots over the next 2 weeks to
Yeah,
check
please.
different parts until it's changed. And the signs, maybe we'll have a minimum size.
Well,
Instead of a maximum, we could look at also having a minimum size depending on where it is, which,
Another idea that I had was that we could look at something, a specific sign provision for Route 9, where a lot of these issues seem to
Right.
be.
Because of the speed that
standard.
you're
The high speed
operating
of
at.
it, the sign code might be totally appropriate for every other road in the town,
Right,
but not Route 9. So we take a look at
True.
that, absolutely.
yeah.
So for traffic control signs, there are minimum heights based on speed. And also there's minimum heights for purposes of, stop signs. Lettering for street signs. So all of those are covered by the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices, and depending on the speed of the highway, the federal law governs the size of the sign for visibility purposes. And as the speed goes up, the size of the letters go up. So that's a good starting point.
Right.
And one of the things is that a lot of municipalities, when they set their sign heights, they are very low, and the Manual for Uniform Traffic Control Devices has a minimum height for signs, because other vehicles on the road will block the sign.
Right.
Right, that's
Yeah.
another thing, yeah.
So, a lot of the monument signs that you have that are low to the ground, while they're less visibly, obtrusive,
Yeah.
they're less visible.
You can't read them,
So,
basically, that's
that's
it.
kind
You
of the-
cannot read them.
One of the problems when you set these requirements for minimum letter heights and minimum heights for signs, you basically make them not visible.
Right.
So,
That
and
needs to be addressed,
that's
and
a-
that needs to be
I
fixed.
mean,
So-
that's an issue.
Just something to look at, moving forward.
Yeah.
And just as importantly, for those that are watching, make sure, especially now that we're out of winter, hopefully, and, some people's mailboxes got knocked over, right? It happens. Let's make sure that on private residences, you have a visible street number at the end of your driveway so that first responders can find you. Every year, there's a challenge, somewhere in the town, finding someone's address. So if we can, from a town perspective, take a look at the commercial side, and also as residents, if we can make sure we have our street numbers properly visible to the street, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Bill. Next item is Resolution 2022-56. This is a resolution accepting an undertaking secured by cash deposit for restoration in connection with Myers Corner Run. This is a $13,398 deposit. Barbara, do you have any comments you'd like to make?
this is currently a proposed subdivision in the town, and they're asking to be able to fell the trees on the property before the bat season starts on April 1st. So the planning board has approved this pending you accepting the cash deposit, which I have in my office at this time. This will allow them to.
So they're gonna replenish, because they said there's 42 trees they're gonna replace?
Well, they're going to fell them. They can't remove them, and they can't stump them right now. But they just want them down so that, with the thought that if their subdivision gets approved, they'll be able to start out there. If they don't take them down before March 31st, they have to wait till October. And at the last meeting, you accepted a tree felling bond from another company.
And this is, in
Well-
this case, a restoration bond in the event they
Yes, in
don't
the
go
event
forward.
that this
But I think
subdivision-
also Councilman Gonzalez, at least the question that I have, maybe is his, is do they plan to add more trees to the area once their development's going on?
So it's a subdivision, so there will be street trees once the
Okay.
houses go in and before the road is taken over by the town.
So that was one of my questions, and the other one I get is, again, it's restoration. If the subdivision doesn't go through, it's 13,000, so they're just securing the bond, and I get that. Okay.
Yep. Okay, we had a.
I'll make a motion to approve. I think you did. I'll
Yeah.
second it.
Okay, motion and second, all in favor? Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, the motion passed. The next item is related to what Mr. Hawthorne was speaking about earlier. This is a proclamation recognizing March 29th, 2022 as Vietnam War Veterans Day here in the town of Wappinger. And it's also consistent, almost identical to what is being done nationwide in other communities. I don't know if any other communities do it around here, but I view it as an important item. You know, our Vietnam War veterans, you know, have made and continue to make significant amount of sacrifices. They're probably the more withdrawn of, you know, all the, you know, veterans, and we're trying to reach out to further recognize them slowly but surely.
I'll move this and
Go ahead.
yield to the, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'll move this, and I appreciate the reference to Major Joseph W. McDonald that's in this resolution, who is my cousin, missing in action in Vietnam, never returned home, never shall be forgotten. And within the boundaries of this town, in the village of Wappingers Falls, lies the first MIA park in the United States of America, and in his name. So for us to take a moment to recognize all Vietnam War veterans that continue to live today, as well as those that did not return and those that lost their lives. I greatly appreciate having an opportunity to move this.
Sure. And one, I'll just add, you know, following up, Bill, to your point, we will have a reading of those killed in action and MIA as well, you know, so we've compiled a list, and that if anybody else knows of someone in the town and the village that died in action or is missing that we're not aware of, then please, you know, let us know. So we have motion and second. Al
Yeah, I was just
wanted
going to
second.
say, and also we want to recognize Major Daniel Marks as well, so, as well as Major Joseph
Right.
McDonald, so I just want to make sure that they are both recognized. So
And-
I think, Bill, you made the motion, and I'll second it.
Yeah. And Martz and McDonald are both in the resolution.
Okay.
In this particular case. Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, the motion passed. Next item is actually related to today, and I had the opportunity and, you know, very fortunate to participate in the Math Recognition Day ceremonies that were held at Van Wyck, you know, junior high, and I think several other supervisors, County Legislator Chairperson Greg Pulver, County Executive Marcus Molinaro appeared on tape, but it was really amazing to see our young students who are so amazingly talented, to use the word twice, starting with the 4th grade, and I think Dr. Miller, Irvin Miller, has done a remarkable job of having a supplemental program that is teaching math in ways that I don't think my math teachers ever envisioned it. I certainly couldn't figure out what they were computing. So we had this proclamation that I actually read on behalf of the town board that, you know, made it, you know, so this will really make it official. Yeah, and anything you'd like to say in the record, but we're blessed in our school district by some really amazing, you know, young folks that I've also offered to the Dwight Bonk, who was there today as well, that, you know, if there anybody that would like to do some internships here with us in different areas, so we may be having a meeting, and he's reconfirmed that he'll be here in April to speak to us about budget as well as other things. So any other comments with respect to Math Recognition Day? If not, then do we have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, the motion passed. Thank you. The next item is Resolution 2022-59. This is resolution authorizing the release of security posted in connection with Old Hopewell Commons in the amount of $5,000. Barbara just briefly mentioned the background on this.
We took $5,000 as a restoration bond before the maps were signed. They were clearing the land. This took place in 2018. The property is built out, the people are living in the apartments, and we're just trying to clean up some outstanding bonds that we're holding on to.
So I'll move this, and I just want to say that Anthony Segretti, who is the principal on this, was more than willing to adjust the original addressing that was assigned to this property, which was inconsistent with 911 standards, renumbered the entire place literally in the 11th hour so that it would be easier for first responders to find individuals that call 911 in these buildings. And he didn't have to do it as quickly as he did, but he did, and now the complex is at 100% occupancy. There's really a minimal number of emergencies there, but folks that do call are able to be found much quicker, so I'll move this.
And I would further add, Bill, that this is a really good example of a developer partnering with us, because also Sergeant Palmetier Park,
Right.
the parking lot and all
parking lot.
that he's put into that, right? Yeah,
That's right.
you wanna
Yeah, and
make
he still owns the other parcel that's there, that's behind the park, and has committed to the town that if and when that is developed, there'll be parking spaces designated for folks to access the park, and he's really been a good partner. So, again, I appreciate everything he's done, and I believe that he satisfied his obligations to the town.
I'll second it.
Okay, so there's motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, the motion passed. Barbara, why don't you talk about the next one, which is the Prestige Mini Security?
So they also put up a bond in 2014 to cover trees that they were clearing before their maps were signed and the resolution. So as we all know, it was built, they were here for a few years, and now that property is changing to Subaru, still under the Prestige family umbrella of sorts. So that's why that one is on to be returned.
Yeah, I'll move. I mean, again, we're repurposing a building here very quickly with another upstanding, brand. So I'll move this.
Second.
Okay, motion and second. All in favor? Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, motion passed. Thank you, Barbara. The next item, we had already approved 2022-61. So the next item, two items, Resolution 2022-54. This is relating to the correspondence log for 228. There was a request to table it because of the inadequacy of the record. Has that been satisfied?
Yes.
Okay. Since that's been satisfied, do I have a
I'll
motion?
make a motion to accept the correspondence log from February 28th.
Second.
Okay, motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, motion passed. Then we have the Resolution 2022-62 correspondence log that goes with today's meeting agenda.
Make a motion.
I'll
Second.
Motion second, all in favor? Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, the motion passed. And the next item is Resolution 2022-63. This is a resolution awarding the contract for equipment for Spook Hill Park Phase 1A. Randy is here. You want to come up and present on that, and then Jim, you can go through the process because of the previous town board actions on this. Randy?
Hi, good
present on it.
evening, everyone. I don't know quite what to say. I'm here again. My hair was black last time we started talking about Spook Hill. Some things have come to fruition with Spook Hill recently that make it important that we start the ball rolling in the spring. We received a $20,000 grant from the county for a program at Spook Hill called the Green Therapy Initiative, where students from Myers Corners School who have disabilities come to Spook Hill and do certain therapeutic exercises on the outdoor exercise area that we hope will be built. Working with Kevin and his group, we would like the island in the middle of the parking lot turned into a Veterans Memorial little area for plantings. So we'd want that to start off. And also for the Weather Wax Memorial that Dick was talking about before. So all these things kind of add to the importance of starting in the spring the installation of equipment, and the planning for Spook Hill.
So just a point of clarification, Resolution 63 is not on the current agenda, so do we need to add it? I only go to 62.
Yeah,
That's what
where
I
mine
have
ends.
too.
Oh, I have 60.
I don't have it.
Ours ends at 62.
Mine ends
Huh.
at 62.
That's strange. I have 63, 64, 65,
Nope.
66. What's,
I think there was some resolutions that didn't make it.
oh,
So they were printed out.
okay, but I have a printout which has all these on here.
The website shows it as 63.
Are they the other ones too, 64 and 65? Jim?
I don't have it.
Yeah, so the other items that I have shown on mine is this 1A improvement, then the 64 is the receiver of taxes and assessment, position. Resolution 65, I'm again just reading off what I had, was the,
Oh, we have them here now, they just got a copy of it.
Okay.
From Steve.
so in case some residents there, then 2022-65 is relating to the annual agreement with the soccer club. 2022-66 is the annual agreement with Little League.
Yep.
We have them in as
Okay.
new business.
Okay.
Yeah, it is for special consideration. Okay.
Do we have an amount in here on this?
On this one, for Spook Hill, what Al and I had discussed with Randy, and also in light of the Parkitect's contract, and Randy, you can mention that, is we were proposing $150,000, which that had a little bit of a contingency based on, what was $138,000 for the
138.
Parkitects.
Yes.
138,000 was the estimate from
And-
CPL.
The CPL, and that
then
included the Parkitects
Right.
agreement, which needs to be signed, or we lose the pricing
By
by
April-
April 2nd?
April 1st or 2nd,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, so that, Jim, the 138 was the original, they updated it to about 152, and I think Tim recommended 153,000, I think that's where we're at today. So the price of this for 1A would be 153K. Again, it does have a small construction contingency in there, but with prices going up, maybe a little more expensive than 153, but I think that's the price that Dick and I talked to Randy about.
And that's
Yeah.
installed? purchase
Yes,
and-
yeah. And we had bonded, within our parks bonding of, was 750,000 was the total amount, 250,000 was
Was
at least in
specific to
the
this.
verbiage for Spook Hill.
So the only other point I want to make on this one is we had set money aside in Parkland Trust, 35,000. So as far as paying for this, I don't know if you need the full 150 out of the 250 we bonded for, or is it 150 less 35K?
Probably 150 less the 35K, at this point in time. We,
Or do we
don't
do-
have to spend it all now. That bond exists, so we can pull that down. But I think that,
That might be the better use of it, using
The-
bond money versus Parkland Trust, because you're going to use that probably for.
yeah, because
playgrounds and
Parkland
things.
Trust, we are getting down to, what is it, 300, 400,000 now, I think, at
Yeah,
this
it's
point in
about
time.
400.
400,000. Go ahead, Randy.
Just one thing that Jessica just reminded me of. We had a couple of quotes for surfacing. There's all different surfaces for playgrounds and parks. This park is specifically, not specifically, but it is for kids who have disabilities, which means possibly wheelchairs and walkers, et cetera. If we cut the money down to 138 rather than the 150, we can't get the surfacing that is best for kids with disabilities.
I don't think anybody's looking to cut the funds. I think it's just how are you going to fund it, that's all. So
Okay.
I think 153 is still the right price we want to go forward with.
Okay.
I think, again, part of the importance of, at least discussing, trying to hopefully have a vote tonight is with respect to the contract
Yeah.
that we've discussed with Parkitects before and reviewed, and they've been very gracious to hold it until that point
Right.
with the pricing that they committed to.
Right.
So I think, again, I'll ask Steve where he is on phase, 1, with respect to the building, but I think we want to get shovel in the ground if possible in April, so we can move this along.
Yeah, if I can just remind you quickly, we're talking about Phase 1A. Phase 1A is the toddlers area and the outdoor exercise area. So those are two really important footprints in this park.
And further, Joey Cavazzini's not here tonight, but at my request, he's had discussions with the Weatherwax family, and they are very excited that looks like we're moving ahead. But they want to focus with respect to Ryan, or their son that tragically passed away, with respect to the basketball court, and then benches, and then also some trees and other things with relation to that. Also, we had talked before with Jim Sweeney's wife, Noreen, about doing something in recognition for him, which can be any number of things, but we'll need to talk with Noreen Sweeney and their family
Yes.
with respect to that too. But, the Weatherwax family is very excited that they may see something materialize this year.
So, to be sure, we're taking the 150 out of the bonding or less the 35 from Parkland Trust?
I think my preference is to take it all out of bonding.
Yeah.
It's cheaper to go that route. Take the 35,000 sitting in Parkland Trust, keep it in Parkland Trust for now, and do it that way.
And Frederick had recommended that as one of several options, which Al's mentioned, so I think that's
I was
the
just clarifying
cleanest
that.
way. Councilman Beal or Bettina, any thoughts?
Move.
Second.
Okay, motion and second. All in favor? Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, motion passed. Thank you, Randy.
Thanks, guys.
And thanks
Thanks.
for jumping in and helping us, Kevin, and Al, Councilman Casella, and also Phillips, are very much working on this. And I just want to mention for our residents, we do plan to have a lot more engagement with the residents. There have been, concerns raised with respect to noise, with respect to use, lights and so forth, and all those are going to be taken into consideration. I have talked also with Sheriff's Deputy, our representative, about making sure once we get this moving, there'll be more, town patrols and so forth, just to make sure that everything moves smoothly. But there will be opportunities. We do have a resident from nearby, so Stan, you're more than welcome to participate in this along with other of your neighbors, too, as we move forward. So, but thank you, everyone, and then we'll get this going. And then Jim, I think, I'm then authorized to go sign, or do we need to have a resolution for me to sign the
No,
contract?
that's within this resolution. It's for the contract with Parkitex
Okay.
for the equipment. I believe the contract also, based on the information I see from CPL, believe it includes installation of the equipment. Does it include the surfaces under?
Yeah.
And then there's a gravel path that's built separately. That's not through Parkitex.
I don't know that part, yeah,
Well,
but I think that's
The
right.
150 included a gravel
So,
driveway.
this is great, and I think it gets us to the next level. Also, I suggest that during, for consideration, during the next board, workshop on, the 2nd of April, that we look at some of the other parks. I know we had discussed about each councilman and woman, having, some interest in doing some things. And I think now with spring coming upon us, we want to get it and work with Steve in his priority of things as well. So this is a good start to kick off, I think, the spring. So thank you.
Just for the record, the Parkitex is on state bid, so this is not subject to competitive bidding.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you. Thanks,
And
Jim.
I think, going forward with respect to the other parks, good to keep in mind.
It's good to know.
State bidding, a state bid, streamlines the process. You don't have to go out and wait for bids to come in and everything else.
As long as they can
Thank
get
you.
the,
Thanks,
as
Jim.
long
But
as it's
that's
applied
only for over
issue.
35K though, correct?
What's
Is
that?
that only for 35K and over, or is it anything?
Anything,
Okay,
so long as it's on state bid.
okay.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Jim. The next item that we have, if everybody's on the same page, I have is Resolution 2022-64. This is establishing receiver of taxes and assessments of head of water and sewer department. Somebody had mentioned about wanting to.
I want to table this.
Yes.
I want to make a motion to table.
Second.
Okay, motion second, all in favor? Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, motion passed. The next item is Resolution 2022-65. This is a resolution authorizing the execution of agreement between the town of Wappinger and the Wappinger United Soccer Club for 2022. We have a kind of a companion one that's 2022-66. Jessica, would you like to speak to both of them? Please,
So-
thank you.
As of this moment, there have been no changes from last year's contract to either of them. And upon approval, I can make any changes that you guys suggest or agree to and update the dates.
Sorry,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
our apologies.
Summary, it's all the same.
Yeah,
That was too quick.
No changes in
No
the
changes.
terms and conditions at this point.
Correct.
Okay.
I'll move 65.
Yeah, good.
Second.
Okay, motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, motion 2022-65 passes. Next item is Resolution 2022-66, resolution authorizing the execution of an agreement between the Town of Wappinger and the Town of Wappinger Little League Association, and this is the baseball agreement, which you just mentioned.
Yep.
As
No changes?
no changes.
I'll
No,
move
and
it.
I've looked at them too, so.
And me too. I'll move it.
Second.
Okay, motion and second. All in favor? Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, the motion passes.
When's opening day?
We
April
think it's
9th.
April 9th, right?
Yeah, I just kind of
That's
got
what we're
word on
hearing. So
that.
there's this item of discussion we're going to talk about in a second on, as a
Yeah.
matter of fact.
And as of right now, the time is tentatively 10 a.m.
Okay, just want to get in my calendar.
Yeah.
They're not completely sure yet on the
Weather
time.
permitting, that's probably
And-
what they're.
Nah, it was getting everybody out of bed that
And
early.
what time is egg hunt?
1,
No, I just
1
wanted-
to 3.
I know. Thank
What's the
you.
date again?
That's the 9th.
Ninth also.
We were
1 to the
planning
morning,
a
1 to
drive-through for earlier in the day, but once getting the times of Little League and then also the fact that we can get
Well,
back to
actually,
normal.
Jessica and I
so-
have been planning on normalcy for a while.
Yes.
You know, with the contingency of
Yes.
drive-through, which
Yeah.
we abandoned because we don't think there's any reason to do a drive-through at this.
Correct.
Yep.
The kids are looking forward to
Yep.
all the fun they have.
And then the time adjusted to
Right.
account for wherever Little
Right.
League kind of falls in that wiggle room.
Right. So, okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Under items for special consideration, new business, I know Councilman Casella has a couple things he'd
So
like to
actually,
raise.
there's two things. I'm going to ask Steve Frazier to speak to both. We do have a quote here for the dugouts and also the field restoration for Robinson Lane. So Steve, if you don't mind going through those.
I didn't bring the paperwork. for
I
it.
have it with me in front of
Yeah,
me,
if
so you
could
want me to talk
review
to it,
that
and you
portion.
can, sure. So we have two bids out here. One's from Thomas Gleason. It's for the R4 dugout. For those that are not familiar with that, a bunch of the block fell off on R4 and also the roof. So in order to repair that, again, we have two quotes. First one from Thomas Gleason for $10,785, and then to also do some field repair, which is basically clay and fixing that field. It's another $19,770, so a total of $30,555. Second quote's from Stone Ledge, a little more expensive for the R4 dugout. It's $20,200. Whole field repair doing the same work, $22,000, so it's $42,600. So it's $42,600 versus $30,555. Steve, the only thing I don't know is there's also a proposal to do the tear down of R3. I don't know if you can do that internally. If Steve doesn't do that internally, that's another $5,750. If Steve can do that internally, that saves us money, and I'll let you talk
Right,
to that.
I'm just waiting for the soil conditions to support the equipment. Right now, it's too saturated to put equipment or roll-off container on. We can handle the
Okay.
this demolition of the two dugouts. Something that should be pointed out is this would come from the funding that was approved earlier last fall.
Correct, so we had
And
$100,000.
also may
Go ahead,
see
sorry.
some reimbursement from FEMA, because this was due to flood damage.
Correct. So we had $100,000 we approved last year. We spent $7,000 so far on clay. We have $93,000 left to spend in the amount of money that we approved. What I'd like to do is, again, opening day is going to be April 9th. I'd like to get this approved today so Steve can go back to Gleason, which is the lowest bid, to go ahead and get this thing approved and get this thing moving forward. So again, and I believe they can do this by April 9th, correct?
That's the intent, yeah.
Yes.
Well,
So
we
like
need to get it done.
We need to get it done by
Well,
then.
the ground conditions are going to
Right,
dictate what
I
happens.
understand.
Yeah.
Right, but,
Steve, when you
go ahead.
take down those dugouts, are you gonna put bleachers or benches or something there?
Well, I'm gonna bring in a proposal then to replace them with something different.
Okay.
But right now, they need to get out of there because they're a safety hazard.
You're gonna put some item 4 down there, though, when you take it down, right? I assume
Well,
just
we'll
to...
put something there
Yeah,
in
okay.
order to fill in the depression.
So we can, I don't know if we need a motion, Jim, or not, but I'd like to get Steve the approval tonight to go out and give...
Yeah, we need a motion.
We need a motion. So I'll make a motion that tonight that we authorize Steve to award the contract to Thomas Gleason for a total of $30,555 to get this project moving, and hopefully get it completed by April 9th.
I'll second.
Source of the funds were,
So Frederick should have money sitting in now the B fund, so it's going to come out of fund balance.
okay, so it's, well, was it allocated in the budget, or is
No,
this-
what we did was back in last year, November, we allocated, actually it was in the A fund, $100,000 because we thought we were going to get FEMA reimbursement. So we allocated $100,000 for various projects. It's going to come out of A fund balance. So that's what we're planning
Well,
on.
if it's allocated, it's not out of fund balance. If it's allocated, it's budgeted.
So it wasn't, I don't think Frederick budgeted it.
Okay,
No, that's right.
But there was a resolution approving the amount to be spent.
Right.
which is typically budgeted, but, okay.
Well, unfortunately, it was not. So what he did was when he did his fund balances, instead of a number being 1.5, it's now like 1.4. That's how he did it. So he didn't actually do an allocation. What he did was he actually said, my fund balance will be less because I'm going to spend X amount. So you're right. What should have happened is you should have put it in the budget, but we didn't do that. But we had the money set aside for it.
Was there a, I mean, I guess my question is, was there a resolution adopted last year to spend money for that purpose?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and so,
That was one of the enumerated items in that resolution.
Correct. There was a number of items we specified, but this was specific.
okay. I mean, that resolution should still
Be in effect, right?
govern.
Well, at that time, I didn't have detailed quotes, so they put a
Well,
lump
you know, what we
sum
did,
in.
Jim, at that time, if you recall, there's $100,000.
Right.
We said that it would go toward 3,
Right.
4, 5 projects.
Correct.
Especially this one.
Okay.
So we didn't set aside a specific dollar amount within that 100,000, but it was designated as a project.
Correct.
Okay, all right, so, I mean, we could, it's either from B fund, I mean, the question is, if it wasn't spent last year, did Frederick put it back into fund balance or not? So it doesn't,
I
in some
believe
respects, it
I believe
doesn't.
that's what he did.
Okay, so then it would be from B fund balance.
Correct, and that's why I said that. Yep,
Okay.
you got it. So.
Well, I guess it doesn't hurt to have a more specific resolution that kind of
Well, in
piggybacks
this
off of that
case,
one, or
in this
doesn't?
case, it's, you know, the resolution would just be for this purpose.
Okay.
To spend $30,555 to enter into a contract with Gleason
Correct,
to be paid from B fund balance.
correct.
Correct.
So I made that motion, and I think, Chris, you second
Okay.
it.
So we have motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, motion passes.
So now you have item number 2 there, right? Rockingham Park proposal. You want to
Right.
bring the board through that?
Yep. So I met with Councilman Casella last week at Rockingham. There has been some talk about some improvements that could be made there. Soccer League has been looking for storage area. We had mentioned that possibility of an aerator for the pond. And we've mentioned wanting to put security cameras through all the town parks. So I came up with a plan here. If I were to purchase a 10 by 20 prefabricated shed, similar to what we have in this parking lot here, a little bit bigger, I could divide that into 2 rooms internally, use a portion of it for our use, and then allow Soccer League to use the remainder of it. We would position it near the previous electric service next to the pond. Back there, there's a pole, and it's all ready to receive electricity. So we could position it next to that, put electric service in that building, which would supply both Soccer League and the aerator, plus, you know, give me a spot to put camera equipment. That was one of the holdups at Rockingham, there was no facility to put the camera equipment in. So-
And with the latest issues of last week, you know, we do have a more urgent need for the aerator.
Right. So I threw together some quick numbers that I got offline and wanted to bring this before you, see if there's interest in me going further and getting hard quotes to bring back to a future meeting then on doing this project.
So I think we want to go forward with this. Also, just keep in mind that about a year and a half ago or so, we put $5,000 set aside specifically for soccer for a storage facility. It sits in Parkland Trust right now, so basically what we would do with this, let you go forward with that. I understand that we probably don't want to use Parkland Trust because then we have to own the actual facility itself or storage unit, but I think that's the route to go. Get an estimate, see how close you are to the 17.5 you have on here, and when we get some real firm quotes, we should probably bring this forward to the board as a regular resolution to get it approved. I think this is something that we need to do. Again, the aerator will take care of one of the issues we just recently saw over at the pond we need to take care of. We do have the company Solitude coming in. They'll be there April 1st or so to go ahead and start some of the remediation on the pond itself. So that'll be good. So the aerator will be in conjunction with that to make this a more viable and facility to the pond. So again, I think this is a really good idea, Steve. So I would recommend, unless the board has any objections, at least going forward and getting estimates on this so we can, again, I think the aerator that we do need to do.
No, I support it.
I support it.
Okay, I'll do that. And I have one more quick thing. Out at our facility, our storage barn for the equipment, the newer equipment that we have now, we can't close the doors because the equipment is too long. They're garage doors, so, a portion of the vehicle or trailer hangs out one end of the building. I was looking at that with my foreman this morning, and I believe that we can put an extension on that building fairly inexpensively, and I just wanted to get board approval to speak with the engineers on that.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. We need to have the engineers look at it structurally.
Right, but I need to have your permission to speak with them on that.
All right, go ahead and
No
have them
problem.
look
Yeah,
at it.
go ahead, Steve.
Thank you.
And then you can come back. Tim apologized for not being here tonight, but he had a symposium up in Albany, and I told him he didn't need to trek all the way down here, then go all the way back up to the Albany area for tonight.
Yep.
So
No problem.
he apologizes for not being here. So any other special consideration, new business, before we have a motion to go in executive session?
Just a couple items here. The American flag at the Palmatier Park, traditionally we've purchased and replaced when that flag becomes tattered, which happens every year because of the wind right there in that corridor. So I think that's a 4x6, Steve, on that one?
I believe so. I have it written down. I don't have that in front of me.
All right, so the committee was out there this past week, and the mechanical aspects of the flagpoles were frozen, so they couldn't do anything with the flags, but I would imagine this week they're going to free up. If we need to buy a flag, let's go ahead and do that unless we, oh, you do, okay. So the town traditionally replaces the American flag, the committee replaces the unit flags, which they will do as well. Waiting for the weather to break, which I think is this week, so they're going to take care of that.
You actually did the one at Castle Point about a year ago, right?
I think you
Yeah,
look at
that's a
all
good
of them
idea.
based on whatever the
But I'm
weather
saying, I
has
think you
done to
replaced
all
it
of
about a
them.
year or so ago. I remember doing it.
It's been less than that.
Okay,
But that's,
They don't last much more than
no.
3 months.
okay.
And plus, that's very close to the river, and the wind off the river really beats it up.
They're supposed to last till Memorial Day, but they never do. That's what
No.
we always, hopeful that they'll last till then. The other thing is, we, last year approved funding for some improvements at Palmatier, and we had purchased some granite benches, okay? Now, I need to know from a procurement standpoint, Jim, it was part of a capital purchase. These are not temporary items. These are granite benches that become part of the memorial. Is there a procurement amount that can't be exceeded on those purchases under a pre-approval for park enhancements?
I guess for the equipment, I mean, it's equipment. The equipment itself, I guess the park benches itself, I would think would be 20 grand.
All right, so I have a balance right now because we didn't pay this because of supply chain, we couldn't get them.
Right.
We got a couple of them in for 9/11, but the other ones that are outstanding, the total was $8,500. We had previously approved some funding in Parkland Trust, which we didn't use because the highway did the in-kind work on the driveway. So I'm hoping the town board will authorize the $8,500 for those granite benches now, so that I can actually get this taken care of.
Yes.
I'll make that
I'll
motion.
second it.
Second.
Okay, motion and second, all in favor? Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, motion.
Thank you. Another thing I want to mention is, obviously, we all had a festive time at the Dutchess County St. Patrick's Parade, which, thank God, it happened that Saturday and not this past Saturday. Because what a mess this Saturday was. Did you see the Beacon Parade? It was 12 minutes long in a complete snowstorm. You can watch it online. But the one that we had here that came through our village and town, I would say probably had the most attendance in at least the last 5 years. It didn't hurt that it was over 40 degrees, but people wanted to come out. The town was, town representatives were out in full effect. But I think the residents also need to understand that, this town presented the broadcast that continues to play over and over on our town government channel. You can also watch it on YouTube. Shout out to Mike Miner and his crew for pulling that together and doing a phenomenal job. A lot of residents have commented that if they couldn't be there, they were grateful that they could watch it. And each one of us that were there was clearly featured in the broadcast. So if you are watching right now and you haven't seen it, chances are it'll play on the channel that you're watching if you're watching on TV right now, but you can also watch it on YouTube, and you can also access that through our website and our social media, because it was the longest parade also in the last 5 years. Normally it's about an hour 15. This is like an hour 30, hour 45.
Correct.
It was a great event. So.
And thanks to the MC, who did
Well,
a very
listen.
fine job again, as always, Mr. Bill.
It was my 25th parade, if you count last year's virtual.
Yes, we do, because we did have it.
Because we
And-
staged it.
And a special thanks to the parade committee. They did work with us, we worked with them. It was great working with them, and I think it shows a good community spirit that we exhibited very well at that event for all the village and the town.
So just a shout out to Gene Noon, who is the chair of the committee right now. Mr. Corrigan, who was the grand marshal. Obviously, many that are familiar with the Wappinger Central Schools are familiar with Joe Corrigan. He was my principal across the street here back in 8th grade.
He told me a
7th
few
grade.
stories. But
I'm sure.
I was watching the interview. Yeah.
He was also principal.
He was telling stories about you too.
At John Jay. He was Kieran Lawler's principal there, but then went on to become an assistant superintendent. He was one of those guys that retired and then came back to be an interim a couple times. So he was, he never could get away to fully retire for at least the second or third try. But it was great to honor Joe Corrigan, right? So that was a great event. Last thing is, here we go again with these letters, Jim, right? So Tax Correction Services LLC, back at it again.
Yep.
Sending out these official-looking letters where they want to serve as a third-party representative for grievances.
For 50%.
And, yeah, they charge you, a nominal fee here, right? Which you can do this yourself, folks. So if you get this letter in the mail, I would encourage you to give our assessor a call, and any questions can be answered by our assessor. If you choose to have property tax grievance consultants do it, that's your right, but just understand that this is could be a money grab on their part. They blast these letters out. They make it sound like this is the only option, and it's not the only option. But you can, if you want to choose this option and give them $50 or $75 to do something that you can do for free here, that's fine. But I just want to get it out there that the letters went out.
And related to that, residents, at our next board meeting, at the end of the month, on the 28th, our tax assessor will be here to speak to us, to the board, and to the community to discuss the process, including the appeals, the ability to challenge if you want to. So please stay tuned. Listen, because Christian Harkins will, I think, do a very fine job of presenting to us and answering questions that the board may have as well.
I'd like to say, and the board, join me please in celebrating National Women's Month. I know we all know special women in our lives that have been very successful and have helped us, and those that have perished in the past, and our veteran women. So please join me in celebrating the month of women. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other board member like to make a comment? Okay, since there are no more comments, I have a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of reviewing HR hiring and promotion matters and labor contract issues.
Move.
Second.
Okay, motion second. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, the motion passed. Thank you, everyone.